The TFSA, the most powerful investment account in Canada. Yet, according to recent data, most Canadians are actually using this account completely wrong. A TD poll found that 39% of TFSA holders aren't investing a single dollar inside of it, rising to 41% for Gen Z and millennials. BMO also found that 41% of TFSA funds sit in straight cash. That means that nearly half of the country is earning under 0.5% while inflation runs at 3 to 4%, eating away your purchasing power. And this is only counting those who actually have an open TFSA account, not to mention those who are still dropping money into unregistered savings account, losing to inflation while getting taxed on their little gain. So today I'm breaking down exactly what the TFSA is, what it's meant to do, how people are using this account wrong, and how to actually use it to build real wealth in Canada. Let's jump in. What the TFSA really is. So the TFSA stands for tax-free savings account, but it's not just a savings account. It's an investment account that lets your money grow completely tax-free. So inside your TFSA, you can hold real investments or assets such as stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, bonds, GICs, or just cash, but only if you need it in the short term, like less than a year. And the real power of the TFSA is the fact that you never pay any tax whatsoever on the growth inside the account, on your withdrawals, and there's no income restrictions, there's no penalties, there's no clawbacks when you take the money out. Even if you somehow manage to turn $10,000 into $1 million, the CRA doesn't get a cent. It's really one of the only ways that you can build wealth completely tax-free in Canada. Let's talk about the TFSA eligibility. So who can actually open a TFSA? To qualify, you need 3 things. 1, be a Canadian resident for tax purposes. So if you're new to Canada, you must first become a resident. 2, you must be 18 years or older or the age of majority in your province. Provinces and territories with the age of majority of 19 years old are British Columbia, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Yukon. So if you live in one of these provinces, you'll have to wait until you're 19 to open a TFSA. However, your contribution room starts accumulating just like everybody else from the year that you turned 18. And the final thing that you need to open a TFSA is to have a valid social insurance number. That's it. No income requirements, no credit checks. Anyone who meets those 3 requirements can open a TFSA in Canada. So now let's talk about the contribution room, because this is another area that people get confused. Your total contribution room is the sum of every single year's limit from the year that you turned 18, regardless of which province that you're located in. And this holds true even if the account isn't open yet. So even if you waited until you were 30 to open the account, it's still the sum of all years since the year you turned 18. So here's the full breakdown per year. Like I said, so your contribution limit is the sum of all years since the year you turned 18. So for example, if you were at least 18 in 2009 and you never contributed, then your total limit in 2026 would be $109,000. Now let's say you turned 18 in 2020, then your total limit in this case for 2026 is $45,500. And here's a very important detail that most people miss. If you withdraw money from your TFSA, you can add that money back, but only in the following calendar year, not right away. Because if you withdraw and recontribute too soon, and that contribution puts you over your limit, then you're going to be charged a 1% monthly penalty on the overcontribution. So make sure you track your room carefully. Another important detail is to understand how permanent gains and permanent losses work inside the tax-free savings account. What I mean by that is your TFSA contribution room can actually permanently increase or permanently decrease depending how your investment performs. For example, let's say you contribute $5,000 and that investment grows to $6,000. Then you withdraw it. Well, then the next year, your contribution room increases by the yearly amount like everyone else, but it also increases by the $6,000 that you withdrew in the previous year, meaning you've just permanently gained a $1,000 of extra room. But be mindful that it works both ways. If you contribute $5,000 and let's say your investment drops to $3,000 and you decide to withdraw it from the account, you've now permanently lost $2,000 of contribution room. So in short, gains will expand your future room and losses will shrink it. It's another reason why what you invest in really matters. How to track your contribution room. If you only have one tax-free savings account open, it's very straightforward. Your financial institution will show all deposits and withdrawal right on your account summary. Then just compare that with your overall contribution limit. But if you have multiple TFSAs open, whether at different banks or financial financial institutions or maybe online, it gets a little bit trickier. Each institution only tracks what happens within their own account, not across all of them. For the full picture, you can log into your CRA account. Just keep in mind, these numbers are not updated in real time. They're based on information from the previous calendar year. So if you've made any recent deposits or withdrawals, they won't show up. Let's talk about why so many people use the TFSA wrong. The main problem is people treat the TFSA like just an ordinary savings account. And that's actually one of the biggest wealth killers out there. See, keeping your money in cash inside the TFSA, it might feel safe, but it's actually just losing to inflation every single year. I mean, think about it. If your bank's giving you a 1% interest, but inflation's at 3%, your investment gained 1% in value, but prices around you increased at 3% during the year, meaning you actually lost money. Keep in mind, the Bank of Canada's target inflation rate is 2%. Meanwhile, the Toronto Stock Exchange has averaged over 10% per year in the last decade. The truth is, banks won't tell you this. They like keeping your deposits, right? They're going to pay you 1%. They're going to loan it out to somebody else at maybe 4, 5, or even above 10% if we're talking personal loans. Your negligence generates them money. It's their business model. Let's talk about how to use the TFSA properly. So the TFSA is not just for savings. The account really should be your main investment vehicle for long-term growth, not your emergency fund, not your vacation fund, your wealth building fund. And when we're talking about building long-term wealth, even the smallest amounts, even just $5 a day is going to make a significant difference in your future. Like I said, you can invest in things like broad market ETFs, growth mutual funds if you understand the fees. It doesn't have to be individual stocks. You can even invest in GICs if you have a short timeline. But let's be real here, if you have a short timeline and we're talking about generating real wealth, those two things don't really go together. And here's a tip that I would recommend: automate your contributions. Set a weekly or bi-weekly transfer into your TFSA investments. I'd even recommend matching it with your paychecks. That's how you dollar cost average, which is basically just smoothing out the volatility, the ups and downs of the market. It's also how you make sure that you're staying consistent. Research has found that if you miss the market's 10 best days over the last 30 years, just the best 10 days, your returns would have been cut in half. And missing the best 30 days would have reduced your returns by an astonishing 83%. Now let's talk about something that eats more Canadians alive than just taxes, and those are fees. Did you know that back in 2015, Canada actually ranked dead last for having the highest average mutual fund fees? So the average mutual fund in Canada still charges between 1.5 to 2% in management fees. It depends how actively managed they are. And according to Morningstar, a 2% fee can reduce your wealth by 33% over 20 years. Compare that with an ETF that costs maybe 0.1 to 0.2%. That's a 15 to 20 time difference. That's huge. And most people don't even know. Keep in mind, banks are always going to get paid before you do. So if you really want your TFSA to work for you, then make sure you're invested in low cost options. Now, I have a ton of other videos on the channel that cover investment options and their costs. But if you want to blend simplicity with efficiency, that's where a simple index ETF becomes your friend. An index ETF's job is to mirror the market itself. It makes no attempt to reinvent the wheel or to surpass the market's performance. So for example, the Toronto Stock Exchange Index averaged over 10% per year in the last 10 years. So if you're looking for an ETF that simply aims to mirror the Toronto Stock Exchange, then check out XIC. Now, because it's an index fund, there's not much to manage on their end. Therefore, the management expense ratio is 0.06%. It's basically nothing. Now let's talk about a few common misconceptions that I've heard throughout the years. Number one is TFSA withdrawals affect government benefits. This is completely false. TFSA withdrawals don't count as income. They won't reduce your CPP, OAS, or GIS. Those benefits are calculated on your annual income, and the TFSA withdrawals don't affect it whatsoever. Number two, you can day trade inside your TFSA. I mean, technically, yeah, but the CRA has gone after people for doing it, calling it business activity. If they think it's a day trading business, then they're gonna tax it like a business. Number three, you should name your spouse as a beneficiary. Actually, you should name your spouse as a successor holder instead. The difference is the spouse will inherit the TFSA account with all the cash still inside. The spouse will keep the account completely tax-free and ownership transfers instantly. If a spouse is listed as a beneficiary, they're still going to receive the cash completely tax-free, except the money will be withdrawn from the account and the spouse doesn't get to keep the contribution room. It's a pretty significant detail because let's say they want to reinvest that money into the TFSA, well, they're gonna have to make sure that they have their own contribution room in order to do so. So the bottom line is the TFSA isn't just a savings account. It's your most powerful wealth building tool in Canada. It's completely tax-free. Don't waste it sitting in cash. Don't lose thousands to unnecessary fees. And don't just wait until one time to start investing, because compounding rewards time and consistency, not hesitation. And if you found this video helpful, then be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. That way you won't miss one of my future uploads once they're posted. I make videos that help Canadians better understand and take full control of their money. But with that, thanks for watching. Until next time.